So you graduate high school, you still have that Yamaha motif. Where does that take you? What does life look like at that point?
Oh man, so I started like playing in a band, and I started with a buddy from high school. We started a band, so we were playing gigs. And then I remember maybe a year after high school, I moved out of the area that I grew up going to high school in. I remember I moved to like North Hollywood and just roommated with a couple friends. And I remember I met this another mentor was a guy named George Renfro. He was like a big record promoter, and he worked closely mainly with like Universal Records. And he also used to sing with the group The Drifters back in the day. So he had like years. He was older, he was probably like in his 70s. So he had like years of music industry like wisdom. And I remember I
Mm.
interned for him for pretty much no money. Like it's like maybe a couple $100, he'd give me just like help out around his office and stuff. But man, it taught me so much about like the good and the ugly in the music industry. So he kind of taught me like a lot of the business side. And then also his roommate was a young guy who had a band signed to one of Universal's sub labels, Warrior. So
Mm.
speaking of that motif, I was playing that keyboard in that band with them, and it was kind of like helping my live chops, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Road as a keyboard player, I learned a whole bunch. So that's kind of what happened with right after high school with the motif and everything.
Sure. Yeah. So now at this point, you're interning with this guy for relatively no money
Yeah,
comparatively.
yeah. No money practically.
Were you working outside of that, or were what did life look like?
Um, nah, man, it was rough. But I was literally just trying to make music. Like
Yeah.
I just like little gigs here and there. And then I guess to speed the story forward, after a year, I ended up having to move back home because it was just so rough. And then I was doing more work still back where I was. I got some gigs and some momentum going. And then from there, it just kind of like moved forward. Like it literally just, I think the social media era really kicked in around then. So I
Okay.
think being able to post videos of you playing on Facebook and like Instagram when it was early, like really helped. And even more so than that, me and a buddy of mine's being a drummer friend, we would drive every Monday. We knew the benefit of living in LA is that all the players live here. So you can drive down the street and see your favorite musicians, like when they're not on the road or whatever. So I remember like every week we would drive to this hang and we would just hang out. In the beginning, you don't sit in, nobody knows who you are in the beginning, but just showing up and just being cool. Eventually they let you sit in, and that's kind of what helped me break through into the LA music scene is just going out, meeting people, like true networking.
Mm-hmm.
When I got the opportunity to sitting in and not sucking, you know what I mean? So people want to call you back and then just kind of exchanging that information. So it was a combination of like physically going out and meeting people, and then obviously the social media era really helped later, like down the line on some work that I've kind of changed the trajectory of my career.
In what sense?
So I know during the Facebook era, my first really big tour, I used to play bass for Charlie Puth. So when that happened, I was posting a bunch of videos, and I was kind of transitioning into people seeing me as a bass player more than a keyboard player, which is hard to do when people, that's all they know you
Yeah.
as. They can't wrap their head around you like being equally as good at something else.
Sure.
That's where social media helped. I was able to post videos because no one wants to hire you in the beginning if you just say, "Oh, I play this too now." But when people can like physically see you, you know, killing
Hmm.
it,
Yeah. Yeah.
it
Yeah.
kind of helps. And I remember the bass player who referred me to the music director. He never met me in person at that time, but he knew I can play just from us being friends on Facebook and referred me over to an audition that I ended up landing in the end. So,
Yeah, it's
social
pretty
media stuff.
amazing the power. It's essentially like people don't recognize. Yeah, while social media can definitely be a platform to what's the word, give you exposure, and everybody knows that, right? But I think what people don't necessarily recognize it as is a portfolio as much. or catalog of a portfolio. I think that maybe photographers and stuff like that, that they recognize, oh, this. They don't even have websites anymore. They just say, oh, go to my Instagram because that's their portfolio. But I
Yeah.
don't think that people recognize as musicians so much as recognize, oh, this is my portfolio. This is if you're a musician and you're just posting photos of your dog, people go,
Yeah.
oh, like, well, let me see your stuff, and then they go check out your stuff, and you're like, oh, it's your girlfriend at a sunset, a dog. Maybe we want to get that video of you. They don't recognize the fact of like it's an opportunity for people to watch 6, 7, 8 videos and be like, wow, this is really cool.
I try to preach that to people. Like I tell like every musician I meet, like this is your active business card.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
literally has whatever is on there, that's how people are going to see you. So I remember at the time when I was trying to transition to playing bass more, I didn't post anything of me on a keyboard probably for like 2 years
Wow,
because I only wanted people to see me in one way.
wow.
Now I really only want people to see me like in the production realm. So I usually post me playing everything
Hmm.
and writing and production. So it's like whatever you present to people, that's kind of what they're gonna gather.
Hmm.
So if you don't want to be known as a cover singer, then don't post cover songs. You
Hmm.
don't want to be, known as just an Instagram model because I hate when I meet singers. It's usually singers. I'll meet them. They say they can sing. I get their Instagram and it's just a bunch of selfies. And I got a gig to find like one video to hear how they sound.